We continue to explore how police services are using data to reduce crime and increase safety.
You know, I'm going to say it's been a journey, right? And actually one of the previous panelists talked about the fact that it's about progress, not perfection. I'd say as a police service, we've been on that journey about how to better utilize data and information, trying to find ways to pull it out of our system, trying to find ways to operationalize it for our frontline members. And I'd say the focus, while we're looking to expand that, but the focus has been on police-reported crime. And how do we take the stuff that's in our records management system and transform that, start to use that to guide our operations? Really, there's kind of two areas. So first is on the crime reduction front, the people, places, and crime types driving crime. And then the second is really around repeat victimization. And those vulnerable people that are being repeatedly victimized, can we identify them and start to deliver services? So for the people, places, and crime types, and I said this in a previous discussion, you know, I like to say in the Alberta RCMP we're evidence-driven, which means that I steal a lot of stuff from other police services that have had success. It's really about taking, you know, some of that data and information, identifying those people creating the most harm, identifying those locations where we're seeing you know, high crime, and what are those crime types, putting that together in a way that our frontline officers can actually have that at their fingertips. So we produce reports monthly for each detachment. We have about 115 in the province of Alberta. So they have that information front and center for them as they go about doing their operations. And then on the other side, in that repeat victimization side, it's really about looking at those vulnerable people and starting to ask ourselves, are there some services and deliveries we can start to provide that are going to break that cycle of victimization and maybe give them a hand out of the situation that they're in. And then who are the partners we need to have around the table? And, you know, I did mention we're looking to expand. So, you know, as we face challenges of trying to partner and gather information from some of the other agencies that would be supporting, we're looking to integrate that data as well, and not just look at it from that police lens, but start to look at it from, you know, some of what those other agencies have to offer so that we can actually be meaningful in some of the impact that we're making.
Thank you, Peter. Alina, I'm going to go over to you. You're not the police officer on the stage here. So I'm very interested in your perspective with HelpSeeker and how you're working in this space and what your thoughts are around the use of data in this space.
Well, it would be very awkward if a data company said they don't like data or obsess about data, because that would be ridiculous. Of course, HelpSeeker Technologies is here to take the data, massage it into actionable insights, and deliver it to folks that are going to put it to good use. That's our purpose. Now, how we do that and the things that we obsess about are really around this value proposition from the data. And oftentimes we get brought in and somebody says, well, we just don't have the data to answer these questions. Where should we be putting our resources? Or which program is working best? And what we unfortunately find is that they've been sitting on years of data. And they'll say, well, this data is a hot mess. I'm afraid to show you essentially my underwear drawer. And we say, it's okay. It's actually finding these nuggets, these brilliant insights that you've been sitting on the whole time. And so the integration of data and finding that is where we excel, what we find we excel at. But more importantly, how do we serve it up to folks that are making the decision that are not data scientists? So how can we make it into a consumable product and insight that people are going to get excited about ultimately?
Thank you. We're going to go to Deputy Driechel to my right here. Deputy, you were most recently in charge of the IT division, and you have a background in data and intelligence gathering. Give me your perspective on how this, knowing that you were working within the Edmonton Police Service, and a lot of the statistics you saw up on screen in the last presentation are clearly speaking to some of the things we have in place in Edmonton around the challenges we have, but also some of the opportunities.
Yeah, so thanks, Ron. So I don't tell a lot of people I ran IT, but now you all know, so. I have a different perspective, and thanks, Peter. You talked a lot about how we're using data to identify those people that might be the most vulnerable, or those that we can probably dedicate our best efforts to have the most reward with. So I won't go into that. We've done a lot of work around that, but what we always found with us, and Ron, to the point of intelligence, is that we have kind of low data literacy within our organization. So our understanding of what is important data, how can we use it, is limited. Our records management system was started in 2006. We've just recently rebuilt it because we found that the questions we needed to answer today, we could not answer with the data we had. We very much mirrored our written reports into our current or the previous iteration of our records management system. So we didn't have the answers we needed. So therefore, we find ourselves here today trying to answer these questions, trying to support other researchers, and caused us to really accelerate, our records management refresh. When I look at the use of data, I think of it in two ways. We usually use it very tactically, so it's a direct response to an event that's going on. I look at our real-time operations center we've stood up since 2019. It has access to 23 different databases that our frontline members don't have. So when they're responding to a call, we can now dig in, find those other insights and those things that they would not normally have. So again, trying to empower our frontline members to be, I guess, more flexible, more available in their decision-making once they show up in the scene. The second part, Ron, and I think you see this in more as we build our records management system out, is the strategic use of data. So where do we need to be deployed in response to crime? Metro Edmonton's a big location. We know we have a lot of crime that's going on. It's identifying those series, trends, offenders, being proactive around that, deploying our resources. We just rebuilt and I guess recreated our deployment model from a 10 squad to a 12 squad model because we knew that we weren't covering off the high points we needed to. So very important. I think law enforcement as an industry is starting to learn the importance of big data. I'm excited for what the future has, but we do have a lot to learn from other industries.
Thanks, Warren. Chief, I'm going to go over to you. Peel, large police agency, you have your own issues that are similar yet different from Edmonton. I've met a lot of your data folks, I've met a lot of your team. You guys have perhaps a different slant on how data could be used. Please tell us how Peel's looking at it.
Thanks, Ron. And yes, for Peel, for those who don't know, Peel region's just outside of Toronto. We've got 1.6 million people. We've got Pearson Airport. It's very similar to Edmonton, growing population. But organizationally, we'd been stagnant in terms of how we use data to drive things. So, not to be duplicitous on what Warren said or what the RCMP are doing, but not only are we're trying to use data to drive programming, measure the efficacy of our existing programs, or orient resources. Really, our view is, we need to use data to manage how we intersect with the public in every possible way. And so, for us, it's not just, doing the crime reporting, but, Chief McPhee and I talk often about the need to shift to a pro-public health lens to policing. And that's just not just suppressing crime or reducing crime. It's actually how your people use data and information to change the way they are. So, we've done the outward-facing stuff, very similar, mitigating risk. We've had success of bringing probably out of maybe 1,000 frequent flyers in our region, the contact down by 30% just by studying the substantive risks, whether it be mental health, food insecurity, etc. The other piece is that we've also used data to help inform our training within the organization, which shifts the look and feel of our people to be more oriented to the style of policing that I think we all agree needs to happen in this day and age, Ron. So it's like speed dating through what Peel's doing, but it's at a very high level, buddy.
Thank you. I'm sure we'll have an opportunity to dive a little deeper as we go through the rest of the questions here on each of these. Over to you, sir. I've had the opportunity to work with StatsCan since I had hair and a brown beard. But the rigor that you bring to statistics gathering, the types of data sets you have available to use, how is StatsCan approaching sort of this topic and how it can be used for both community safety and well-being and for crime reduction? But I know you have data beyond that as well. You have health data, you have all those other pieces of data that certainly Alina is interested in. We need to do the work that we need to do. How are you approaching that as an organization, and what is your thoughts on how we can better leverage that as we go forward here?
Well, thanks, Ron. Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah, look, I think I mentioned in my remarks that we've been at this for about 40 years with a very strong justice and community safety initiative, where there is a forum where data can, in fact, be prioritized, our efforts can be put together, standards can be developed, and we can start to make good use of the data and the insights that come out of that initiative. So I think the first message is, let's not recreate more avenues. Let's use the ones that we've got and squeeze, if you like, the best out of those. It is a team sport, and I think we need to start to build the trust that allows for better data flow. As you said, I think we need to help build the capacity. We need to help build the infrastructure, and we need to help build a literacy so that people can actually start to use the data in very meaningful ways and not lose the public's trust. So we build all that, but we're not transparent, or people don't have trust in what we're doing, well, we're right back to square one. And I think that's a bit of an issue. And in each of those areas, Statistics Canada is involved. So involve us early in a number of these initiatives, and let's see what we can do to help build the kind of structure, the kind of capacity, the standards that are there. And we have a number of examples where when we're working together, we make a huge difference. Not in only looking at, for example, unwanted sexual assaults, and how do we build a system that now starts to put the focus on the areas that are important to Canadians, but when we start to use data in responsible ways, for example, opioids, and what we did in British Columbia and Surrey, when we were able to unpack by looking at people who died and their characteristics and their interactions with the justice system and with the health system, the data actually changed people's perspectives. And I think that's what's needed in this overall human services ecosystem that you talk about. I think we can keep pushing in a passive way, or we can start to redefine the system's role in those individual pieces, then start to work together to address and get everybody to mobilize themselves and seeing themselves as part of a solution of a much bigger and an integrated system. So these are the kinds of things that I think Statistics Canada, working with each of you and so many of you, can start to change the dynamic and the dialogue that's out there.